Welcome to Live with Sara and Tasha on what is now a summer's day. Hopefully everyone is experiencing some sunshine wherever you are tuning in from today across Canada. I am Sara Hodson. I am the founder and CEO here at LiveWell, always partnered with my dose of sunshine.
You're so sweet. I'm Tasha McCrae. I am our VP of Brand and Culture here at LiveWell. And just trying to find my
I guess
note.
I'm not your sunshine. That's fine.
Oh,
Just
I'm frazzled because my notes have disappeared when I
I will give you lots of
So,
time to get that
you
back.
keep things rolling here, Sara, while I bring up my notes, which are magically gone.
Totally right. Well, it is the summer, and yesterday marked the last day of school for all of my children, and my youngest birthday, and my older son, his last day in elementary school, moving into high school. So lots of shifts this week, and across the country, we are continuing to see more and more levels of fitness reopen. So a very exciting time. Hi, Ryoko. So nice to see your face. Welcome.
So Sara and I love seeing everybody's faces. So thank you so much for those of you who are able to join us live today. Sara and I love to host these calls just to be able to share our passion about the power of exercise and behavior change in helping you live your life to the fullest. And I've been listening to all sorts of books and webinars lately on purpose-driven work, Sara, and I would say this is really it for us, that just helping people live their life to the fullest, and exercise and behavior change is such an amazing way to help people do that.
Yeah. And Tash and I go back 10 years. We are the original exercise physiologists and health coaches at LiveWell. And even today on our call, we have some of those members that span back an entire decade with us. You know who you are. Thank you so much for joining us today. We, of course, look forward to this every single week. But just a reminder, if you can see your face on the screen, that means that we can all see you. We would love to see your face, but we also want you to be comfortable. So turn that video on or off based on your own comfort level. But if you do feel comfortable, open up that camera and wave a hello. We do have everyone muted just to have a consistent sound and audio recording here.
But you participate through chat, please. If you've got something to say, a question, you want to throw in some input, please use that chat function. And you can find that typically at the bottom of your screen on Zoom. So let's get started today. Today, we wanted to teach you a little trick that can make it easier to create new habits. And it's gone under a couple of names. It was originally created by BJ Fogg, who is a behavioral interventionist or scientist, if you will. And hopefully I'm messing up his title there. I should have looked it up exactly. But BJ Fogg wrote a book and a program called Tiny Habits. But a well-researched idea that's called habit coupling, or some people call it habit stacking. So we thought we'd start off by sort of dispelling a myth that has been hanging around for many, many, many years, decades, in fact, that it takes 21 days to create a new habit. And we now know that that's not truly science-based or evidence-based. In fact, it can take more than 60 days, 90 days to create a habit. And really, there's no magic number. It really depends on the person and the complexity of the habit that you're trying to develop. But this habit coupling or habit stacking that we're going to talk about today is a way to get a new habit started and to make it a little bit easier to get going on starting something new.
And Tasha, don't you think sometimes when we talk about habits too, and we do this at Live Well, and is really sometimes the success of it is why you are doing it. Why is it that you want to actually develop that habit? And if I kind of look back over the last year, even, and I think that that shows us even, where we change our perspective on things. I think back to last March and April, when we couldn't do anything and we had to stay inside and we were all in quarantine and lockdowns, and but we would make mistakes because we didn't, we weren't used to having to physically distance, isolate, and so forth. And so, if an elevator opened and it had people in it, you kind of walk into it and then go, oh, right, we're not all allowed to be in the elevator, and kind of step out. And now, a year, 16 months later, if an elevator opens and there's one person in it, you're like, thank you, I'll wait for the next one. And how much that has changed, right? I remember being very embarrassed last May when the weather was nicer and I was out for a walk outside, and slowly people were starting to walk outdoors again, and I was at the beach and I saw a family friend of ours, and I saw her and I ran up and gave her a hug, and everyone stopped around me and looked, and I went, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, I completely forgot, I'm not allowed to hug you. And again, now 16 months later, I think of all of these people that I now see on a regular basis, and we just don't hug. We don't even think about it because we're not at the official National Hug Day stage of this pandemic. And so really, but what was all of our reasoning for creating these habits and behaviors in our life was that we didn't want to get COVID. We didn't want to spread COVID. And so it was a higher, deeper purpose why we actually develop these habits of, now the elevator opens and we say, thank you very much, but I will catch the next one. So
yeah, you bring up so much of what we do is unconscious, right? And we'll talk about some different things that we do that's unconscious that we can use to habit couple. But on the flip of what Sarah's saying, why is so important. And we talk about why all the time. And if you haven't spent some time digging into a health vision, I think it's a really worthwhile exercise, because we know that why we have to have purpose behind our change, or we're never really going to be motivated to do it. But there are lots of people who really feel strongly that they need to eat better or exercise more, but yet struggle to establish those habits.
yeah.
And this is where this coupling can sort of come in and meet you where you're at. So really important to define your why. But if you go, hey, I know my why, and why is it still hard? That's normal. And so give yourself a break. Don't beat yourself up for it. And maybe try this little neural brain hack, because really that's what it is. It's not about motivation. It's about a brain hack to help you be more successful.
And so I love how you brought our brain into it, Tasha, because really the psychology and the science behind this is strong. This isn't just about, again, willpower and motivation. This is actually about us kind of changing the neural connections in our brain. And so the more that we actually do a set behavior, the more we form that connection in our brain. So you might want to think of this as kind of a field of grass, an open field of grass in front of you. And the more you travel the same path over and over, what happens? The grass kind of wears away and the path becomes very easy to follow. It becomes very apparent in front of you and obvious. And really the same is true of how our brains start to allow us to develop these habits. And we create stronger neural pathways, just like those pathways across the big open green field, the more often we do a healthy behavior or just a habit that we are trying to bring into our life.
Yeah, and I've also heard the opposite piece, Sarah, that as we kind of stop doing behaviors, we kind of prune some of those neural pathways off. They still exist. And so we can pick them up. That's why we can pick up our bad habits kind of where we left them. The pathways still exist, but they're not as strong. Don't go to them as automatically.
That grass can grow back on that big open field, but the grass might look a little bit different or not be quite as long as the grass in other areas of the field. So it's still there, but just not as obvious and apparent.
You got it. So this habit coupling is really about piggybacking a new habit that you want to develop onto an already established habit or neural pathway. So essentially, our whatever we've are already doing, and we have all tons of already established habits that you might not even think are habits. Think of things like brushing your teeth or making a cup of coffee at the same time every morning, or that glass of wine at the end of the day. I didn't say it had to be a super healthy habit. Walking the dog. These might all be things that you do very regularly and are habitual activities in your life. What we want to do is now add on or stack or couple your new intended behavior onto that. And this strategy seems to be more effective than saying, for example, like ruling the clock, like, hey, every day at 3 o'clock, I'll drink some water. It would be better for me to go every time I send an email, I'll have a sip of water. That one might be overwhelming. I send a lot of emails, but
I
you
was gonna
see,
say,
I'm going to be I'm going to be super well hydrated at the end of this day. So, but coupling it with something very clear. A great book and we're going to be referring to this James Clear, who wrote a book called Atomic Habits. And if you just love to geek out on habit formation science, I highly recommend his book. But he talks about creating a push-up habit. And I've heard BJ Fogg talk about that too. So every time I use the washroom, I do one push-up, and how much that can add up over the day. Though one of those authors, I can't remember which one, did point out doesn't really work well if you spend a lot of time in public washrooms, because that's just disgusting. So, but piggybacking those activities just makes them a lot easier. We need to create a trigger so we remember. Like, how many times have you said, I'll do something, I'm gonna, and I drink more water or meditate or do a gratitude practice, and oops, you just kind of forget about it, right? So we need to create a trigger or a cue in our mind that tells us, now I've done this, now that.
I'm really excited to see Tasha's push-up performance. The reason being is that it sounds like every time Tasha sends an email, she's going to drink water, meaning she's going to have to use the washroom a lot, meaning that every time she uses the washroom, she's going to do push-ups. The woman's going to be ripped before we know it. So I think 30 days from now, we're going to see how many push-ups Tasha can do.
Perhaps I should take a before and after. But I love your suggestion, Sarah, because what you've just described is advanced habit stacking. It's going, I'll do this, then this, then this. So I've got cardio with the running to the washroom. Now I'm doing the strength training with the push-ups, and I'm super hydrated, which I'm going to need in British Columbia because we're going to roast this weekend.
Yeah, yeah. So when we look at this habit coupling, it really is a little bit like kind of bargaining with yourself. When I do this, I will also do that. So you're really creating a rule for yourself to follow. And Tash and I all often will use the statement of we adhere to our own ideas better than the ideas of others. So instead of buying a book that is like the top 100 habits that you should do, it's great to have what are the foundational ones. Absolutely, for example, exercise and so forth. But it really is good for us to formulate and curate these rules for ourselves because we are more likely to adhere to them. And it really works best when the trigger is something that is highly specific. And I'll give you some examples of that actually, is highly specific and immediately actionable. So not something that we push off for later, but I do this and I immediately do this. Many people get kind of off track here by selecting things that are a little bit too vague. So I really encourage you to think the more specific you are, the better off you'll be. So choosing a very small action is a great way to get started. And really, I look at this as a form of self-accountability, right? This is our way of saying, when I do this, I will do this, and therefore this action is holding me accountable to doing that action. Now, I will let Tasha off the hook in that she did not formulate the plan to do the push-ups. I formulated that for her. And in the spirit of letting Tasha adhere to her own ideas, I will allow her to opt out if she wants to. I'm so kind, right? So let's think of some specific examples that we could give here. So everyone brushes their teeth. So, when I'm brushing my teeth, maybe the habit that I want to actually implement is making sure that I take my medication. And for all of us who take daily medications, how do we actually couple that with something that we're already doing? So after I brush my teeth, I take my medication, for example. Or maybe it's, a typical morning routine might involve making a cup of coffee or tea in the morning. And that's while I'm kind of brewing my coffee or tea or even enjoying it, I'm going to pack my lunch for the day and therefore be planned and prepared for my lunch. Or it might be waking up in the morning or going to bed in the evening, a very specific task that all of us do. And maybe you're trying to bring in some more meditative or relaxation practices and techniques into your life. So maybe it's that when you go to bed at night, you also, do 5 minutes of relaxation. So that's some examples of some things that we can do. When I take off my work shoes, I immediately put on my workout clothes. When I go to bed at night, I give my partner a kiss. Some really good ways that we can actually get into a healthy way of when I do this, I will be accountable to myself and choose this rule that I will do that.
And you can see in Sarah's examples that you can really do it for anything. Building relationships, right? I will, for example, the giving my partner a kiss, like it doesn't have to be just about health related behaviors. It can be any area that you're looking to improve in your life. Every day when I take out a load of laundry, I'll also text a friend and let them know I'm thinking of them. Like little things, however it's going to work for you. And I do 6-7 loads of laundry a week with 2 boys who don't seem to believe that you can wear a pair of pants 2 days in a row. So I would be doing a much better job of keeping in touch with friends, which is a goal.
And
So
for myself, even Tash, if I can kind of add in a little example that I know works for me, is that for me as part of my morning routine, I actually keep my workout clothes and socks and shoes on a shelf in my washroom so that when I wake up, I go through my morning routine, but I put on my workout clothes, my socks and my shoes. And just by doing that type of immediate action, it's going to be pretty remiss of me to not then do my exercise right away. I'm already in my clothes. I already have that on. So in my head, the actionable item that I'm trying to couple is just putting on my workout clothes. you know?
And I love that you said that, Sarah, because it really reinforces the point that start small.
Mhm.
You know, sometimes we go, well, then I'll I'll take off my work shoes and then I'll exercise for 30 minutes. And if you're really struggling with that and week after week you have really great intentions but you're not managing, then start smaller. You know, I have an exercise bike at home and it might be to sit my butt on the seat of the exercise bike.
Yeah.
And that's a win. And 9 out of 10 times, I'll probably pedal for some given period of time. But the win is sitting on the seat. So don't feel like it has to be big. Start small. Remember in that example, it's one push up, not I'll do an entire resistance training workout every time I go to the washroom. It's one push up. And the small things add up to something bigger. Sneak peek of our quote of the week next week, all about small things adding up to something bigger. So let's do a little exercise here to help you figure out how you could use this in your life. So first off, if you've already coupled it, and I love the example that Sarah gave to start off with brushing the teeth and medication. I think that's kind of a go-to of every pharmacist that suggests to habit couple those two together. But how are you already using habit coupling in your life? Have you ever been successful with it? Throw it in the chat if you are. And if you've never done it and you're thinking, how is this going to work for me? Hang tight. We're going to work through it with you here. So if you have a piece of paper with you, that would be helpful. I want you to, or if not, you could do it after the call today. But if you take a moment, even 5 minutes, we won't take that long today. I'll give you maybe a minute. Think of a habit that you're already doing every day without fail. So again, it's things like brushing your teeth. It might be getting dressed. Hopefully, you know, there was a time during COVID where many of us may have not been getting dressed every day, and that's okay too. But, you know, for me, it's brewing at least 1 cup of coffee or taking the kids to school, eating lunch, things like something that you do every day. I feed my dog every day. Sarah, we would have to figure something else out. This is where habit coupling can fall apart a bit, is if you stop taking the kids to school every day because it's summer break, sometimes the habits that you've coupled to it start to fall apart. So you really want to think about what you're choosing as a trigger and make it something that's really consistent in your life. So I'll give you a few seconds here to think of that. Yeah, I love it. I coupled walking my dog, not washing my dog, walking my dog, and then after I wash any dishes in my sink. And that's John. And John, your partner must love you for doing that. See? He's working on that relationship builder, right? That's not always happening in my house, that people are cleaning their dishes out of the sink. All right. So when you've got a couple of behaviors that you're always doing, then I want you to think which one of these, cooking dinner each evening for sure. Awesome. If you're the cook in the house. So now think of which of the triggers that or which of the things that you do every day would be the best trigger for you. Which one is really consistent and that you think you could add something to. And then think of a habit you want to create. So drinking more water, creating a gratitude practice, whatever it might be. And then which one of your everyday activities would be the easiest for you to connect and couple those? I make coffee and I drink 2 glasses of water every morning. That is a great one, Cindy. And we can sort of, again, Sarah said bribe or reinforce. You know, it might be that if you really love that cup of coffee, that you say, hey, I got to drink the water before I have the cup of coffee. So it doesn't always have to be after. The formula is before or after I do my already established habit, I will, and then throw in the new habit that you're trying to establish. Anyone have an idea that they'd like to share with the group in order to increase your social accountability for it? You already know now, apparently I'm doing push-ups when I go to the bathroom. One cup before, one cup after. Good job, Cindy. I would like to introduce stretching after a walk. That's a great one. And again, if you've got areas of tension, stretching is something that doesn't have to be a huge routine. You could add moves frequently throughout the day with an activity you do frequently. Trish, I think I only saw part of that. A daily diary entries before bed to record gratitude. I love that one. And I think I've shared before on this call on live that an easy thing that I sort of established with my family is when my kids go to bed, I ask them, what are 3 things you're thankful for today? And that's kind of our bedtime ritual, but it was bedtime that triggered that gratitude practice for us. First thing in the morning, testing your blood sugar, right? That's a thing that you have to do in the morning. So what healthy habit can you couple with it? Love it. So we hope that this has given you some sort of food for thought of how you might be able to make creating a new habit easier. And remember, just those small little steps really do add up to something bigger. I see it now, Trish.
So, what can you do to live well this week? Well, we would encourage you to try habit coupling for one of your new healthy habits. Maybe there's something you're already working on and thinking of something you're already doing consistently, and hopefully even in our episode today, you were able to identify what those 2 things are and how you can connect them. Stay focused and accountable this week by creating your weekly practice plan in your members portal, which is setting out 1, 2, 3 actionable things that you can do that you are highly confident you can achieve in the next 7 days. And of course, a community of like-minded health seekers can always help to keep us motivated, inspired, and focused. So attend your exercise sessions, make a date with exercise, and get inside the clinic or Zoom in and live stream into your session if you can.
Next week is Canada Day. So Sara and I will be celebrating our great nation. So we will see you back here again on July 8th at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to be talking about dealing with setbacks. So bring your setbacks if you end up having any with your new habit coupling practice. And we will send out the replay of this for anybody who's missed it. It'll come out the following Thursday, just before our next live. And subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can keep track. Sara and I are trying to put out new and engaging content to fulfill our purpose and to help you live your life to the fullest. Thanks to all of our members for watching. Cindy, thank you for showing us your poochie there. Look at that face. If you're not a member at Live Well and you're watching this on replay, please join us to be our guest and come experience what we're all about. You can sign up to be our guest at www.livewellclinic.ca.
And as
Thanks,
Tasha
everyone.
said, we'll see you all in 2 weeks. Thanks so much. Joy hands. Thanks, everyone.